I took notes. I have notes. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Hello and welcome back to my channel, All the Stories. Today I will be doing my review on one of my favorite books of the year, probably one of my new favorites of all time. I love this book so much and I've talked about it on my channel multiple times, and that is The Rage of Dragons by Evan Winter. I read this book for the first time back in July and I just completely fell for this book. I loved it so much. It has quickly become one of my all-time favorites and I am so excited about the sequel that's coming out in November. So I wanted to go ahead and film a review before The Fires of Vengeance came out. Another reason I ended up rereading the series is because I was selected to be part of a virtual tour for the book Fires of Vengeance. So I did receive an ARC for Fires of Vengeance and I will be reading this starting today. I'll be starting this book right after I finish doing this review because I really wanted to film the review before I started Fires of Vengeance, so my thoughts and opinions and feelings from this book didn't kind of influence my review, so I wanted to go ahead and do the review before I started this. And I also just wanted to reread The Rage of Dragons before starting The Fires of Vengeance, and I actually annotated this time, so that was fun. So since I did get an arc of Fires of Vengeance, I am part of this blog tour, my review for Fires of Vengeance will be up during the first week of November, so be sure to be on the lookout for that if you are excited about it, or you just want to see my opinions of it, or if I inspired you to pick this book up and you want to see how I feel about the second book before you pick up the first book. Whatever. I will have a review posted in the first week of November, and there will be a bunch of other different booktubers and bloggers that will also have their reviews posted, so it'll be a lot of different opinions and viewpoints on the book, so please be on the lookout for that. So Fires of Vengeance, why we're here today. That's not why we're here today. The Rage of Dragons is why we're here today, so let's just hop into my review for The Rage of Dragons. So The Rage of Dragons is an adult high fantasy story, and it's following our main character Tao, who is just coming of age within the society. I think 16, I want to say, don't quote me on that, is how old Tao is at the beginning of the story, and he is coming of age, and that means for the Omihai people, that mainly means you are required to join the military if you're a man, because there is a war that's been going on for over 100 years between the Omihai and the Zidane, and the Omihai, or the Chosen as they choose to call themselves, are at war with them, and every time a man comes of age he has to be tested, and if he passes this test he becomes part of the military, and if you fail it you also could become part of the military, but your ranking in this test determines what branch of the military and the prestige, which branch of the military you go into, and there are better branches than others, higher ranking branches than others, so it all just depends on how you do during this test. But we're following our main character Tao, who has just come of age, and Tao doesn't really want to be a warrior. That is the only option available to men in this culture, is to be a soldier, and he doesn't really want that for himself. He is in love with this girl and he just wants to really settle down and start a life with her and raise a family with her, and he knows that joining the military he would you have to serve, I think, for like 7 years in the military, and that's great if you don't die, but a lot of people, especially lessers who Tao is a part of, die in the war effort, and that's not the best if you want to come back and start a family. So he just doesn't really, he's not a warrior, or he doesn't want to be, at least. Tao is also a lesser, so this world has a very rigid caste system, which is at its most basic is divided between lessers and nobles. Nobles, of course, being the higher branch and lessers being the lower, but each one is very divided into subcategories. And Tao is pretty much at the bottom of the barrel when it comes to the caste system. He is 2 steps above the bottom. He is considered a high common. The only thing below him is a step called low common, and then the drudge caste, which is essentially indentured servants or slaves. So he is very much at the bottom, and he doesn't really like how the lessers are treated, but he is just not really involved for the most part. And it follows Tao as he is coming of age, and he really just doesn't want to join the military. So he has this plan in mind where he can get out of his military service, but that is all thwarted when something very tragic happens to him, and this tragic event kind of changes the trajectory of his life, and he wants to seek vengeance for the I'm trying not to be spoilery. He wants to get revenge on the people that caused this tragedy to occur in his life that changed his entire life. So he then decides that he will join the military because he wants to get vengeance on these people. He wants to become the best soldier that there is, so he can seek vengeance against these people who he believes has wronged him. And it is so good. It just follows Tao as he is on this journey of improving himself, his capabilities, and his fighting power, and just so he can just seek vengeance. Okay, I don't know how, I'm trying so hard not to be spoilery because I feel like everything is a spoiler, because then this book you really don't need to know. All you need to know is that Tao comes in and he wants to be this happy-go-lucky person, and then something happens and he changes to super soldier, basically. So the world of the Rage of Dragons is not very big. You have the Omahai people, and they have traveled here hundreds of years ago from their own lands because of the coal, which is never really explained, and I hope that it is explained in book 2 because I want to know what it is. But there's basically some people that drove them out of their homeland, and they were seeking a new place to live, and they landed here on this peninsula, and there were already inhabitants here. People already lived here, and they came in and kind of just took this land from these other people, and they got as far as they could before the people kind of pushed them back. So they've taken over the entirety of this peninsula, but it's not a very big area of land, so there's not a ton of world building because the Omahai are really restricted to this little tiny piece of land, like so much so that they don't even know what lies beyond it. They don't even know how big the continent or the area they're on is. They don't know how big this area is because they've never been past this point where the peninsula kind of expands into the rest of the continent. So they don't know. So it's kind of like the world building is really restricted to just that little peninsula of land where they live on, because they don't know what's past that. They don't, and it's been 100 years since they've left their homeland, so they've kind of forgotten what their homeland was like, or the history has kind of gotten muddled and changed over the course of the years, and a lot of stuff has been forgotten or lost or changed into more of a legend than actual history. So they don't know much of what their past was, and they don't know much of where they are in the present. So it's not a ton of world building. However, you do get some. Like I said, there is a very rigid caste system within this world that is divided between nobles and lessers. Like I said earlier, the military also plays a large part in this world. So you have rankings within the military that kind of interweave with the social class systems. And like I said, only men can be in the military, so only men are tested, but that does not mean that women are not also tested. The women are tested, and if they pass their test, they are tested not to be join the military, but to see if they are gifted. And the gifted are the people that can use magical abilities, and they are only ever women. So every woman, when they come of age, are tested to see if they have the gift, and then if so, they become part of the gifted, and they're sent to train for years, and their powers vary. They have a bunch of different kind of categories, and I think each gifted can access any of the categories, but not every gifted is strong enough because some categories require more strength than others. So one of the ways gifted can use their ability is they can transmit messages over long distances, and that's not one that comes a lot into play in the Rage of Dragons. Another ability that they have is innervation, and that is essentially they can use their powers to send someone's soul into the underworld. And it sounds as bad as it is, and when you're sent to the underworld, your soul is ripped apart by demons. It causes your physical body back here on earth no lasting pain, but it can drive you to insanity, and they can hold you there until the demons essentially kill your soul. And then once that happens, you're just kind of sent back to your body. But it is a very painful thing. You're emotionally traumatized, and it's like you feel the pain, but then your corporal body isn't actually harmed. It's kind of like a little confusing, but it is a very powerful skill. And then you also have enraging, which is where the Ingonyama branch of the military comes into play, because there are certain nobles who have the ability to be enraged by a gifted, and that means essentially that the gifted uses their powers to strengthen that soldier so he becomes bigger, faster, stronger, more powerful. It just essentially like makes them a super soldier that can crush through enemy lines, and it's just like 10 regular soldiers equal like 1 enraged Ingonyama. And the last way that they can use their powers that we know of anyway, and that is entreating, which means that they can summon a dragon to fight for them. and those are the gifted. So only women can become gifted, and if no matter what caste you're from, if you pass this test, you automatically become a gifted, and the gifted are automatically made nobles, and they are the highest of the high. The only people that are above the gifted are the royal nobles and the queen. So that automatically raises, you can be a low common and automatically become a gifted and be a noble. So that's it for like the world building and the fantasy, the fantastical elements of the story. Of course, like I said, there are dragons. The dragons do not, I'm gonna give you a disclaimer now, the dragons do not come much into play in the Rage of Dragons, and I'll get to that a little later because that is one of the things I did want to touch on in this review. So the next thing I want to talk about are the characters. Our main character is, again, Tao, and Tao's a lot. Tao is one of the complaints I see the most about the book, because a lot of people dislike Tao, and that's 100% understandable, to be honest with you, because Tao's a lot. Tao is, he doesn't think things through. He is very one-track mind. He has a plan, and he's gonna see that plan through to the detriment of everything and everyone else. Like, he's very like focused on his goal, and nothing gets in the way of his vengeance. He does not care about anything but his revenge on the people. There are 3 people in particular that he believes have wronged him, and those 3 people are his focus. He's like laser focused on becoming the best soldier so he can kill these people. And like I said, to the detriment of everything else, to the detriment of his well-being, to the detriment of his friendships, to the detriment of the other people surrounding him. He does not care. He wants his vengeance, and that's it. It's done. So a lot of people don't like Tao, and I was one of those people at first. I didn't dislike him, but it was just like, Tao, stop. Like, literally, I tabbed, and my tabs mean different colors, and the most used tab is orange. And the orange tab, I literally named my orange tabs Tao being Tao, and I tabbed up every scene where Tao's being Tao, and that means he's just being himself. It's like, really, Tao, like, stop. Like, for example, I can't really give you examples because I feel like that's spoilery, but like, child. Okay, so like one example, I'm not gonna give you any context, but like I said, Tao is a lesser, and the nobles are like considered his betters. You are not allowed to so much as really even look at a noble or talk back to a noble if you're a lesser. Like, it's not done, and they are free within their rights to punish you, kill you, whatever, to do whatever to you because you're a lesser and they're a noble. So Tao, this is like towards the very beginning of the book. This is like page 100, and Tao is talking to this person, and he's just like, he's telling this like noble who, I mean, the noble is a piece of shit, but like Tao's like, oh, it doesn't matter because I'm better than you. Like, you can't just walk up to a noble and tell them that and expect no repercussions. And it's just like Tao being Tao. Like, think things through before you say things, think things through before you act on things. He has like no impulse control, and that causes a lot of problems for him down the line, and it's just ridiculous. But I love him because you understand. That's my thing with Tao. You understand where he's coming from, so it makes it understandable. He's never just doing something just to do. I mean, he does do things just to do them, but at the end of the day, you can see where he's coming from and why he's doing the things he's doing, and it makes sense. Like, if you're looking at it through the perspective of Tao's mentality, what everything he does makes sense. So even though he's annoying and even though he has no impulse control, you understand why he does the things he does, and there's never a moment where I thought he acted out of character and didn't do something that I would have expected Tao to do. He like is very like he is who he is, and you just gonna have to deal with that. So Tao is the main character. There are some side characters that I really enjoyed. Tao, like I said, is at the age where he goes to train at the military school, and some of his sword brothers are amazing. Like, my favorite character in the book is hands down Udwak. I love Udwak so much. I also have tabs for things that I find funny, and they're my purple tabs, and I think actually all of my purple tabs are Udwak quotes, because Udwak is the best thing in this book, to be honest with you, and you can't change my mind. Like, he is hilarious, and he's one of those big, strong people that doesn't say a lot, and like he talks in like one word sentences, and he rarely speaks, but when he does, it's just to say something smart ass, and I love him so much. Like, he is my favorite character in this book, hands down. Another character that I like was Hadith. He is kind of the leader of Tao's scale, which is his military unit that he's a part of. Each big military group is broken up into smaller fighting groups, and that's a scale. And Tau scale is pretty awesome, and Hadith is the leader of Tau scale, like the peer leader. There's like a person that's over them, but between all of his sword brothers, Hadith's the leader, and that's called the Inkokeli. So Hadith is their Inkokeli, and I love him. He is just so smart, and he's like very logical and thinks things through, and he's very good at he's very charismatic and good at bringing all the people of the scale together to fight for him. And I just like he's very good character. And then we have Jayed, who is the head of Tau's scale. Their Tau scale is called Scale Jayed. Jayed brought them together and trains them, and he is a very good character as well. So yeah, those are the only really characters that are of note, particularly within the story. Because I can mention a few other characters, but me telling you why I like them would kind of be spoilery. Those are the only ones I really want to mention. So just my overall thoughts. I did give this book 5 stars. I really enjoyed it. It was amazing. And I did briefly want to touch on, I do see a lot of, not a lot of negative reviews, but all the negative reviews about this book that I've seen usually mention like 3 major things. And then, but in my opinion, those 3 major things that they mention aren't really, I don't know, they make sense. Yes, they're true, but they make sense within the context of the story. Like I said, one of the things that I see a lot is people talking about Tau, and like I said earlier, Tau is annoying. He is one-track mind, but if you look at Tau's circumstances, if you look at the things Tau goes through, then his choices make sense. Like, you look at how Tau's mentality and his end goal, every choice he makes towards that end goal makes sense. If you look at how he thinks, how he reacts, it makes sense within the context of Tau. So like I said, there was not one moment in the book where I was like, Tau was acting out of character for Tau, because every moment of the book he was 100% himself. So if you don't like impulsive characters, if you don't like characters that don't think things through, then I wouldn't recommend this, because Tau is definitely that. But it makes sense within the course of the story why he feels how he feels and why he acts the way he acts. Another big thing that I see people mention is admittedly something that kind of threw me, and that's because the book is called The Rage of Dragons, but there are literally like 2 scenes within the book where there are dragons present, and the majority of the book there are no dragons. There's hardly any dragons over the course of the book, to be honest with you, but that makes sense again within the context of the book. So if you're going into this book expecting a lot of dragons, because the book's called The Rage of Dragons, then I understand you being disappointed. But within the context of the book, if you looked at the story, it makes sense that there aren't a lot of dragons, because it takes a lot to summon a dragon, as you find out over the course of the novel. And after you find out a lot of the lore of dragons and a lot of what goes into summoning a dragon, it makes sense that you don't just summon a dragon willy-nilly over the course of the story. And also within the context of the story, dragons are only really summoned when the Chosen go to war. They summon them during battle, and for almost all of the story, Tau is in training. He is at a training school, so it makes sense that they're not summoning dragons while Tau is in this training school, because he's at a training school. They only really summon dragons when they're actually fighting. So a lot of the reason that there's no dragons is Tau's not on the front lines. He's not anywhere near where the fighting happens for the majority of this book, so there are no dragons for the majority of this book. And alongst that same vein, a lot of commentary about the fact that there are not very many women in the story. And I don't know if I mentioned this story, the world, I don't think I mentioned this when I talked about the world, but it is a queendom, which is why I'm wearing my queendom shirt with my dragon on it. Yes, okay, I thought this through, I did. But this world is very much a queendom, and there are hardly any women present in the course of the story. Again, that is a fact, it is true. However, makes sense again if you look at the context of the story. Like I said, the military, there are no women in the military besides the Gifted. The Gifted do use their powers in battle, but they are strictly assigned to the units where the nobles are present, because the Gifted are considered nobles, and they're only really ever present on the front lines because they're used to summon dragons and enrage Ingoyama. So the fact that Tau is a lesser and is at the lesser training school, there are no Gifted present at the training school, and there are no women present in the military or most branches of the military. So the fact that Tau is in a military training school where women aren't allowed to attend means that there are no women for the majority of the story. But it is a queendom. It is a monarchy? No, that's not the word. Matriarchy. There you go. It is a matriarchy. Women do hold government powerful positions. They are the rulers of this world. Not just the fact that it is a queendom, but all higher, all positions of power within the chosen society go to women primarily, unless no women are able to take up the mantle. For example, Tao, the fiefdom, I think that's the word, that Tao lives in at the very beginning, is ruled by, he has a friend who is a noble that he trains with, and his mother is the ruler of the fiefdom. And the fact that she has 2 sons means that her oldest son is eventually going to inherit it. But if she had a daughter, the daughter would have surpassed the sons, and she would have been the next ruler of the fiefdom. So it is a matriarchy, and there are women in the world, but there are none really in the context of this story, because even at the beginning, Tao is raised by his father. His mother gave him up when he was young to live with his father. His mother lives in the castle of the fiefdom, or the keep, but he does not see her. He is estranged from his mother and sister. He lives with his father. Then he goes off to the military school, and he's there for almost the rest of the book. So there aren't really any women. So that is, again, a valid criticism, but I think it makes sense within the course of the story. And another criticism I see is mainly that the book doesn't have a lot of politics going on. And again, we're following Tao, and Tao is a soldier trainee. So it makes sense that he's not in the midst of all the there are political things going on. There's a whole political plot line that is in the book, but it makes sense that Tao is not a part of it or in the midst of it, or that he's just seeing kind of the effects of these things that are happening and not really seeing what goes into all the machinations and whatever of the political aspects of this world. But Tao is like a foot soldier. He is actually not even a foot soldier. He's a trainee soldier. He's not an actual soldier yet anyway. So it makes sense that he's not involved in all these political things that are happening. However, I believe we will be getting more of that in the Fires of Vengeance, because Tao's position at the end of the Rage of Dragons is very different from his position at the beginning of the Rage of Dragons. His status at the end of the book is very different from his status at the beginning. So I think Tao is now in a position at the end of the book to be more a part of the politics of the world than he is during this book. So if you read the book and you're questioning like the politics of it, or like you want more politicalness, it's not a word, but we're gonna go with it, politicalness. If you want more politicalness in your fantasies, I believe Rage of Dragons would not give you that, but I think Fires of Vengeance probably will. I will let you know when I do my review for Fires of Vengeance after I read it, but Fires of Vengeance probably should give you more politics just based on where Tao is at the end of Rage of Dragons. So that is essentially it for this review, but I also kind of just wanted to give some spoilery thoughts. So this is the end of my spoiler free section. I did just want to vent, and I want to gush about some of my thoughts and feelings and opinions and where I think the second book is going. So if you've read The Rage of Dragons, feel free to continue watching, but if you haven't and you don't want to be spoiled, you might want to cut this. I took notes. I have notes. My biggest thought reading this was, okay, so you know how you find out that, okay, essentially people think that the offspring of nobles and lessers are stillborn, and people really think that, but like, and then J-Ed telling you that they're not is supposed to be this big revelation. However, if you look at the Gifted, no matter what station a gifted can be born a lesser, and she could pass the test and be pushed up to the status of gifted, and that makes her a noble. And they mention in the book that the gifted are always married off with high nobles trying to make more gifted. So the children of these gifted women who were born lessers and these nobles are not stillborn. Yes, they have been upgraded to the status of gifted, but y'all were born lesser, so that means y'all have lesser blood. So that means that your children are half lesser. So what are y'all talking about? Like, that was my only plot hole, and that was the one that was very evident to me, especially when I was rereading. I was like, wait a minute, that don't make no sense. So maybe Evan gonna explain that, but so if your whole point is that nobles are better than lessers based on blood alone, like they're just born better than lessers, then that's not true, because a lot of these nobles are at least like half lesser, probably like a lot. So make it make sense. Can someone in the comments make it make sense? Because maybe I missed something, because I mean I guess maybe the difference between lessers and nobles is different than what you think, because obviously we have Tao, but Tao goes to extraordinary lengths to get to where Tao goes. So maybe, but it's also the fact that this world is very They don't have a lot of crops. They don't have a lot of meat. Like, eating meat as a lesser is very rare. So the fact that they just have bad nutrition, like, that's probably why there's a lot of differences between, like, body size. Like, of course, if you're not eating well, you're going to be smaller than nobles who eat well all the time. So, like, I don't know. Also, I have a theory. Like, there are a lot of talk about, oh, Tao is like Tisserie reborn. And I'm like, is he? Can he be? Is it true? Like, there's a lot of people that mention that, but what if he actually is? Like, what if, like, Tao's Tisserie reborn? I would lose it. I don't think he is. Like, I don't see. But then, because Tefia? I don't know how you say the queen's name. I listened to the audiobook. The audiobook is very good, by the way. If you want to listen to the audiobook, I recommend it. It's very good. But Tefia, the queen, like, she always talks about herself and uses the verb we, and it seems like more than just using, like, the royal we. But Tefia seems to actually be like, no, we saw you coming. Like, not like royal we, like the country, but like, it's like she may have, like, multiple spirits in her body. Like, maybe her ancestors, like all the prior queens, can speak to her through Shiogo. Like, I am convinced that that is a possibility. So, like, I would love to see it. I would love to see what was the first queen's name? What was her name? Oh my god. So I wonder if Siora is, like, hearing Tefia in her mind. And also that prologue, like, can we get more of that? I need to know more about the Cull. The Cull is a big thing that I want them to go into. And since this book is 4 books long, I really think they are going to come into play within the story, like the Cull. And I really hope they are, because that sounds so interesting. Like, there's only one part where they're mentioned, and Tao, like, refers to them as, like, silver-skinned, like, children's stories. I really need to know more about what the Cull are, because they had the Chosen shook. The Cull had the Chosen really willing to risk it all just to leave, like, everything they know, and pack up, like, nope, we don't want none of that smoke, we're gonna leave, and y'all can have the continent, we're gonna find somewhere else to be. So I really want to know more about the Cull, and I just really hope that Evan Winters really brings them into play and tells us more about the history, because a lot of their history was lost. And you can see that really within just this book, how people talk about Siora and how they view the natives of the island. Like they call them savages and say, oh, like, they burned all of our land so that we couldn't grow crops. Like, nah, Siora, Tefia, she kind of did that. Like, but now it's just like that whole history has been rewritten. So I would love to see more of their actual history coming into play, not just this version of history that they think, because the Cull are like bedtime stories. Like, no one believes in the Cull. I need to see it on the page. I want the Cull to show up and mess shit up. Like, I want them to mess it all up and everyone to be shook. I need the Cull to, like, hop out. Like, yo, y'all are really worried about the Zadine, but y'all should be worried about us, because we got beef. Like, y'all left, but y'all thought that it was over, but it's really not. We here. Like, and war's about to pop off and they're outnumbered. Like, how are we getting out of this? How are we getting out of this, Chosen? Like, how are we getting out of this? I would like to know. I would like to see it. I just have so many thoughts. So, like, if anybody else has read The Rage of Dragons and y'all want to talk to me about it, like, comment down below, because I would love to talk to someone about this book. Like, I talked to my boyfriend, but he don't count. He be looking at me all kind of crazy. Like, he just nods. Like, I'll be going off about this book, and he'll just be like, yeah, that sounds, yeah. So if you've read this book, please comment down below so I can talk to you, because I need answers. I need to get some things off my chest, because this book, oh my gosh. So yes, I am about to cut this review off because I need to read The Fires of Vengeance. I am about to literally cut this recording off, and I'm about to sit down and I'm about to read The Fires of Vengeance, and we're gonna see where this goes, because oh my god, I'm so excited. So thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope I've inspired you to pick up The Rage of Dragons if you have not already, and be looking out for The Fires of Vengeance coming out November 10th, and my review for The Fires of Vengeance coming out the week before that. So thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed, and read The Rage of Dragons. Bye!